This is the What I Need podcast, a shared journey exploring topics of society, spirituality, and even ways of being. Here, we speak freely and fully, from the heart and the conscious mind, in hopes to find what we need. Thank you, for your time is valuable and you could have been anywhere else in the universe. All of you are welcomed and appreciated here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, we're on.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give you a little equation that I think of when I think of trust.
We love a good equation.
Yeah.
Sort it on out.
It's online actually. It's called the trust equation, and it's trust equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy.
Love formulas. Okay, so trust
equals credibility.
So trust equals credibility
plus reliability.
Credibility. Yeah, I can fix that later.
Yeah. Plus reliability.
Reliability. I don't know why.
It's okay.
Reliability. It's my own personal thing.
Yeah.
Trust equals credibility plus reliability.
Plus intimacy.
Plus intimacy.
Which could be vulnerability. So intimacy, vulnerability, similar thing.
That's very...
Divided, there's one more, sorry. Divided by self-orientation, which is like your focus.
Wow.
If you're focused on yourself, or you focused on other, or you kind of in between.
Self-orientation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So trust is
it self... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Trust is kind of this abstract concept for a lot of people. So putting it into this equation can be helpful to view it, to see it. And I can describe each one if you'd like.
Yeah, let's go into this. So, welcome to the What I Need podcast, everybody. I'm here with AC the Poet.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah, what's up? We're glad to finally have you on the show. I got to meet AC at a BIPOC book club. What was the name of the event again? I believe it was Bookish, yeah. So make sure you check out recaps from Bookish on their social media pages. It was so wonderful to be in the room with so many people of color, and especially Black authors, but all of us, honestly, we need more BIPOC and also LGBT writers expressing our stories that have really been for the first time and in this more modern era talked about. We've been trended out and stereotyped out, most of us, but we haven't really we have just now begun, because of people like you, to express ourselves through our own articulation and really putting it out there and being like, it's okay to learn about me and not assume every damn thing, and just assume like, oh, well, that person's a this or that. What do you pronouns, by the way?
I go by they, them, so non-binary.
Okay.
Yeah.
They, them. Not worried about the labels of these mere humans. No, just kidding. But these labels and stuff oftentimes had put us in boxes that don't exist and don't need to exist. So I appreciate that you're sharing your story and articulating that, because it's really doing the work for our community, and I can't wait to get a book out there just to express and be like, hey, this life, it wasn't nothing regular, and it was none of these things that are stereotyped as this is a gay man. Like, I don't have necessarily any particular lifestyle that categorizes just that, other than the fact I have to deal with these EMFs, and it get on my nerves. So, and also to the people that say it's a choice. No, it's not. They get on my nerves. They're not a choice. So, leave it alone. Anyway, So AC, what is good? We were just going over an equation here.
Yeah.
And I love equations. I feel like really from the dawn of time, math and stuff had existed. And then long, long, long after it had all been said and done, humans found out what it was and said that they knew what it was. So equations, anyway, they're cool because it really breaks down what time it is and what time it isn't and how to get there with the most calculated route. So you just gave me a equation for trust, and we want to share this on today's show as we're going to be talking about some things that I feel like often need trust and credibility. They need trust in order to go forward. As we get into a conversation on here, do you want to say it?
Yeah, on authenticity, on community care.
Okay.
I think today I was hoping just to kind of talk about anything and everything around spirituality,
Yes.
About identity, and just not really having a box per se for
No
today,
boxes.
but basically connecting all these things because we're whole people, and this is a time to be authentic and to find our voices right now,
Yeah.
especially.
We had better go ahead and do it. Stop playing around, because voices can be silenced. They have been before.
Yeah.
And sometimes it looks shaky in an area. Sometimes things are still going on that go against what they said was the law, or what they said was going on. We're safe. We don't got to worry about anything. We know what the plans are. For this and that. And sometimes it's just not giving that, and it's heading in a direction they're saying it's heading, or that it's okay, but it's really not. So our voice as the people, who I really think that, as the American people, we have advocated for ourselves every right and every major thing that we've needed. The end of slavery, black voting rights, women voting rights, LGBT. We had to just tell them, excuse me, no, you're not. We're going to need that because we are already paid for. We built all this shit, and what are you talking about? Give it to us. Give it to them. We tired of hearing them complain, and we don't care. But give them their rights. We talking about. So anyway, I feel like we have actually done a lot of the work as the American people, and that's what makes us so cool, and I think sought after by the people as of other countries. Although we seek them out and love to visit their countries too, we have a great time when we go to their countries. The people are interacting amazingly. So one of the things that I feel like kind of keeps getting swept under the rug is that we're the issue, but we had actually kept fixing the problem by standing up. So anyway, voices, they're important. They need to stay on. They need to be authentic. They don't need to be run through AI before the idea is original, because people need to have their own conscience. They need to actually access their conscience first before they go and get into artificial intelligence conscience. That's going to skip a big step that we're supposed to evolve into, and I don't think that should be skipped. But I didn't skip it. So anyway.
Yeah, I love too that we're in a library, because
Yes.
Someone told me once that books, all they are is if you think about that, it's a human experience on paper. So people are writing their experiences and putting them in the library. So every time you check out a book, you're actually checking out a person. You're looking
That's
into their
cool.
life, right?
Right.
And depending on what they're writing about. Even if it's nonfiction, there's still a bit of their perspective and their self in that book, right? Their
Right.
work, their time. That is, you're
Their
checking out a
story.
person.
Yeah. You said even if it's nonfiction, I hope it's not.
Yeah, or fiction, either one. Yeah.
I haven't gotten into many fiction books in quite a while. I've been reading so many self-help books and conscious expansion. For instance, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
Way of Zen by Alan Watts, which I thought was an amazing explanation of Zen Buddhism and just that attitude, you know. like as an unbothered attitude. People would just benefit. They don't even have to call themselves Buddhists. If they listen to that tape, you would know that you just need to chill out. Traffic is going to be there. The stress is going to be there. You don't have to go to the max. They don't have to shake it to the max. On their stressful days, they can actually be like, well, I'm just going to go through with this. But some of them are shaking it to the max. And they need to let see and do that. Anyway,
the nervous system, right? Like you're talking about kind of like the nervous system and letting stress trigger us to the point where our nervous systems get activated.
Absolutely. The parasympathetic nervous system gets triggered by things that are like, we'll go back to the road rage example. Why are we getting into a fight or flight stress in a road rage situation? Is it cuss somebody out? That's illogical. That's wasting of people's life force and health. Like, just don't. And that concept and other things like that sound sometimes too kumbaya to many people. They still want to or prefer to go off. I think it helps get out some kind of primal force that's not like just worked out at the gym or meditated off or harnessed up into other different levels of our chakras and stuff, as they could do, and probably have all kind of different, energy that's not anger, but all that stuff is still kind of emerging. So I'm glad we have you on the show today to further be this generation that helps, walk everybody else gently through this emerging situation. It ain't one person that started it. It kind of all started at once, and it's really coming through some of our elders that have already been in the game spiritually. Thank goodness for them, but also through the millennial generation. I feel like our generation, I don't know what it is, but I'm so are you millennial?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm assuming. Yes.
90s baby.
Yeah, we got to experience that moment before the internet cut off. And
phones too.
And cell phones.
Cell phones. I did we had the cord phones, but I think I got my first cell phone at 18, 19.
Okay.
So I was a little older when I got my first cell phone.
That's good though. I mean, I know we all wanted to rush to get one at 14 to 16 just to have one, but I mean, once we logged into that world of having a mobile device, like most of us never look back. We always have a cell phone. We're always accessible in that way. Instant gratification starts. Different accesses to things start. It's a whole different world than the generation previous to ours, and it's like that is the decade of transformation into the digital and internet era. So that is not a time frame that's going to happen again. We are that bridge. And I do think there is deeper esoteric meanings to it, and like, so what? Let the jaws drop and let's get to it, because it's already changed. This technology that's coming in is making it easier for things to be dehumanized in ways. It's giving us more access to each other in different ways, which is very good. And I think it has been very good for a global collective conscious when it comes to Twitter being like a source of, what just happened, at first the news, I think, was doing okay with having that access to global communication, but they are not telling hardly the truth anymore.
That's a lot of negativity.
Yeah, they're fear-mongering outright. They're really just playing with people's whole psyche and stress and all that. So I don't watch the news.
No, a lot of people don't. I've learned that more and more talking to people. We don't talk to them. The news is Facebook or social media.
What people said.
Yeah.
What actual people said. And I think that's very cool of our generation to actually just be like, no, I don't watch the news. And that's a regular thing for us. That's why they were talking shit about us. They probably knew that we wasn't gonna, buy the story just because it came from them. I think the last time I was ever glued to the news was 9/11. And then I turned it off because I'm like, they're showing people falling and stuff. And I was like, this is really sad. Like, this is fucked up. And I feel for the event, but I'm like, there.
Today's the 11th too of August, but yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of a weird concept. But I'm going to go ahead and say this because I guess there's no better time than the present. You know, the way they're doing on the news these days, they are willing to put out information on a massive scale that may not be completely true. The way we are made as human beings, an event that was influenced by a false narrative could almost be manifested into reality and had not been real from its actual introduction point.
Yeah.
You know, this person got into an accident on a highway. Did they? Or is this the news keeps changing? Well, they did that on 9/11 too. Some people said they seen the planes go in. Some people said they didn't see no plane. There wasn't no plane that was there. It was too much chaos going on. It was too serious of an event for us to really go and debate, oh, how did it happen? We just know people was hurt and that the buildings fell and it's terrible. But imagine it wasn't no planes and, ooh, that's so creepy. Imagine there wasn't no planes and they like kind of, or there wasn't two planes, or there wasn't, I mean, I remember that day in the footage. But I just remember so many explanations. Nobody had the same explanation. So what actually happened could have been initiated and manifested through human ability. But that's a very piss poor way to use manifestation when we could actually be manifesting peace. Or understanding that we don't have any lack on the planet, don't need a brand new planet, because we can't seem to manage the one that we have yet. So why we gonna go get another one that needs to be terraformed? It just seems like nonsense. So anyway, the news is kind of teetering the line at this point of being dangerous to watch to me, because I'm like, if y'all have said something that's not true to 12 million people and we had gone ahead and believed every word of what you said, but it's not necessarily true, you are putting us into a false reality that is curated by lies, and that's dangerous. Nobody should be doing that.
Yeah.
The truth is becoming more important than ever, because I think our abilities to, this word manifest, which I feel like has come about in this last 10 years, 5-10 years. It's not a new word, but people are like, oh, manifestation, oh, that's like, you shouldn't do that. That's it's just a word. It's been in the dictionary and it's always meant what it means. It just means to make something come to life that is needing to be brought into, from an idea, conscious idea, to a thought, to a form, to a reality. That's a manifestation. That's a process of manifestation.
Can I
please
interject? Because one thing that you said, I want to go back to, and talking about the news. I don't remember where I saw it, but just the idea that if we break down some of the words that we have, so television, to tell a vision,
right.
And so a lot of times what you're talking about is this idea that we're getting told a vision and then it gets ingrained in our brains as a mass, and then we create that reality as a bigger identity, right? A more,
as a collective.
Yeah, as a collective.
Right.
And so that is kind of what news is in a way too.
It's what it's becoming, but that's never what it should be. The news is not meant to. That lack of integrity is so piss poor and dangerous. And I don't know where it began, but for them to tell anything that's less than the truth to masses of people, and they know they have everybody's attention because they are the news. To just step over manifestation like, oh, that's just some hippy dippy bullshit. It's like, no, human beings actually can manifest things into this reality.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? To the news, to Viacom? Hello? Like, tell the truth, because we're living in a sensitive time where we don't need false narratives to guide and affirm futures that weren't for our highest good.
Yeah.
And we should kind of be reaching for that. And there's just a lot of wonky things that go on. Like, I don't watch the news. I'm like, they're bullshit. They're bullshit.
I know I have a friend who actually works for a news station, and something that I've learned through just like understanding a little bit, like talking to that person, just understanding a little bit more of the process. Like, some of it is truth. It's just they're trying to fit it into a certain amount of time, so they're cutting out information and just picking and choosing which things to highlight, so then it can sound like something different,
A narrative.
and if they're and
Narrative
then
news.
and make things more like a bigger story than what it might be, right? And get their ratings up, or
Right.
and so that's where it's dangerous, I think, because some of it could be rooted in reality, right? And we all have these different lenses and different realities. So it's hard because it could be it's probably rooted in some sort of reality, but then it's pieced together to form a narrative that might not be the exact reality of what
What it's supposed to be. What it's supposed to be, like what it really is.
Yeah.
And then also aim high, because you could bring it higher with a scenario or needed quality of aiming at the highest good for self and other.
Yeah.
That's really what manifestation is for. And see, I just love the way spirituality is coming back to us here in the West. It's been all around the world. It was there first. So it's not like, oh, the kids are doing this. It's spirituality. No, you forgot, and you're not connected to your ancestors or your heritage.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, it's okay, but the norm and the tradition is spirituality. It's not the new thing.
No, that's where we should be.
That's where we should have been. Yeah, and with proper understanding, I think I would recommend for those getting into spirituality to go in with principles and stick to them. And I would keep whatever your religion is and work around anything spiritual with your religion if possible. It was very easy for me, I feel like, but I have started off as Christian as a default religion, and really just kind of appreciated mostly and only like the Christ teachings. I'm like, that's the master teacher of Christianity. I'll just follow that. I don't need the rest of it. Exodus, dope. Some of the other ones, Psalms, that's great. The whole thing, it's gonna be confusing at first, then you might get it the second time. The part that Jesus said is really it. And those are all the things that I think the believers of Christianity should be projecting as their bread and butter of that. Come as you are, love your neighbor as yourself, without question. You don't look in their house. What you doing in your house? Then I can love you. No, that's not gonna cut it. And just to get real about that, so I was able to transition from, I don't even know what I would call myself, like I call myself a Christ shaman, because shamanism is my spiritual practice. So spirituality for healing and in regards to repairing spiritual afflictions and all kind of stuff, just whatever I've come across and whatever I've seen friends come across. And it's really, it's gnarly, because a shaman, you just basically had to go through it. Like, you have to be sick and then heal that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become an expert on it because you're like, no, I had whatever you're talking about, and then I fixed it.
Yeah, the wounded healer.
Yes. And then wounds are all the way there, and like sometimes it's scary because, and you just stop being scared. You're just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Let's sit it out. But the first few times I've had experiences that enhanced my practice, I was terrified, and you always feel like you're teetering on this moment of no return, and then you figure it out and you're like, okay, everything, spirituality wants to give us an answer to all of our problems, and this is a connection with the higher power where you're in practice. You're not just begging for something to come down, you are getting a discernment and making something happen from source,
which is inside.
Which is inside, yeah. Which is inside, which is everywhere. If we're talking
That's true.
omnipresent, yeah.
Omnipresent.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I like to let people know that too on this podcast, that it's not a thing where you have to put down where you started completely, and jump into spirituality with no compass, because that's not something people should go into with no compass. I think, fundamentally, religion teaches a lot of good fundamentals and principles that have stood the test of time, and spirituality is kind of more like practices that you're going to, like sound healing. You're going to start off maybe okay, and then you're going to get better expertly knowing where you can heal literal pain from on people with sound. And that is so therapeutic, and it's so effective. Fibromyalgia, nervous conditions. Maybe if people were doing the sound healings on a regular basis, stopping cancer from ever occurring. You know, it's possible.
Yeah.
And as soon as we have stopped looking at it like, oh, that stuff ain't real. No, yeah, it's been real.
Yeah.
And people in our foundational religions were spiritual people. Moses was a spiritual person. But these people could be called shamans. They went into nature, communed with a burning bush. That's called fire scrying in a different, in somebody else's definition, but spoke with the burning bush. So he was looking into the bush while it's on fire. That's fire scrying. We had zapped all of our, we said those things don't exist anymore. And that's not true. I feel like if somebody engages with meditation and pick up a purpose that is really something they believe in, they will be given tasks. And there's a bunch of tasks out here. There's a bunch of things that need to be healed. There's a bunch of rights that need to be stand up for, and a bunch of change that needs to happen. It's not to wage a war of spirituality versus the physical realm. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
Take it seriously, because the spirituality is not a game, and it's not a trendy thing for people to get involved with. If they're not there with purpose, I wouldn't go. But shamanism is very intense, and it's not like, I didn't even know when I first got into it. I'm like, I think I might be a shaman, because I just have this desire to want to figure out how to heal people. And I see so many situations where I'm like, this person's depressed, but they're not really depressed. They have something going on that's like spiritually telling them they're depressed.
They're more suppressed, or
they
need deep rest. When I think of depression, and I'm a therapist, so by trade I'm a therapist, but I also practice holistic healing. I like to tap into like herbalism, and really look into like, if people want to look into alternative methods to their brain health as well, neuroscience, using like understanding the brain chemistry and stuff like that. And so depression, a lot of times there's coexisting conditions. One of the big things is like your gut health. So looking at your gut health, looking at how we're suppressing our internal organs, and that can cause some of that depression as well. Suppressing our emotions, and that,
Right.
and so the more we are suppressing ourselves, the deeper that depression can be. Also, that idea of like deep rest.
What's that?
So, like breaking down that word depressed into deep rest.
Okay.
And so, the understanding that our body is asking for deep rest, for some reason, whether that's like the body or the brain, the body, our spirit is needing some deep rest from the character we're playing in this world.
Yeah.
Or needing some kind of change, right?
Yeah.
There's something that is not getting expressed. I like to think of the opposite of depression is expression. So being able to express yourself in some way, whether that's through art, whether that's through talking and with somebody and that connection, getting that connection
and feeling like it's actually valued.
Yes, quality connection.
And
that's the same with like addictions. When they show up, that's a coping skill. It's a maladaptive coping skill, but we're using, a lot of people are using addictions because they're not getting connection, right? And it can be hard, the healthy connection.
Right.
And so if they're not getting healthy connection, a lot of times addiction fills that connection. It fills that community that we all need. And this world, at least the Western world, is very isolated nowadays. We don't know our neighbors, especially in the city. It's harder to know each other. It's harder to connect with people. And
we have availability to it, but it's kind of like cheapened a little bit because we're like, oh, I can just talk to this person on Facebook, meet, and if I don't like their third profile picture, I can just, not respond to them. And I try to not ghost, even if I have to tell somebody, gently that it's not a match. I'd rather do that and not ghost them. Ghosting is terrible. It's actually like making people feel, oh, that person didn't give a damn, and then they pass that on to the next conversation where they felt like that. So then these profiles aren't people; they're just pictures, and it's only a picture online. It's actually a whole ass person when you meet them.
It makes things superficial. And I learned recently something about the brain when we make connections, our brain develops neural pathways, right? For that connection.
Yes.
And so when that connection is gone, those neural pathways and neurons are still firing. And that's where grief comes in. Because our brain is saying, oh, that person is still firing for that person, but that person's no longer there.
Is that a relationship type situation where somebody's
friendship? It could be a relationship, like a romantic. It could be any kind. It could be your pet, right? Like the neuron pathways will form when we're in that connection with whatever it is, right? And then when that thing, that person, the animal, whatever it is, kind of goes away, the brain is catching up, right? And so that grief comes in because the neurons are still firing, and it's like saying, hey, that person should be here. Where is that person, or where is the animal, or
the stimuli that it had become used to and create a neuron like pattern in them.
Yeah.
So when these patterns experience the absence of the value or stimulation or thing of it, you said that creates grief.
That's the grief, because the neurons are still firing, but that person is not there, right? And so then we're getting sad, and there's like an actual science, like brain science that's happening, things happening in the brain. It's not just like a lot of times we just think it's like us missing somebody, or we're told just to get over it or something like that, right? But it's hardwired in our brain, right? Like our brain has created these pathways, and so the grieving process is part of the changing, like you're kind of building new neural pathways and then detaching from the old ones. But it takes 7 years for our cells to renew. So
7 years, okay.
So these neural pathways it's gonna take time to kind of like for our brain to clear these out.
Okay, so 7 years is for a general reset of these neuron cells, right? What is a solution that you may know in regards to someone trying to recondition after, let's say, a breakup? Neural pattern have been created around X person trait, and that person, it wasn't really working out, so they leave this alone. Grief came in after they try to separate from this person. A lot of people can benefit from this, I feel.
Yeah.
What is a positive way that a new neural pathway can be achieved, either through therapy or holistically or spiritually? What would be one of your recommendations?
Yeah, so a big thing is one, feeling the emotions, not running from them. I know that can be hard for our avoidant attachment people out there, but trying to feel through some of these emotions, doing like somatic practices, breathing through. So that's part of the releasing, letting go. But then also forming new connections with people. Not saying jump into a new relationship with somebody, because that can also be more damaging to that person at at times. And so I would say the connection to new friendships, or old friendships that maybe you neglected during your relationship.
Okay.
But having new experiences again, by yourself. I would say also it can be hard, but going to places with that you may have frequented with that past partner, and reclaiming that space with you, if it's a public space or something like that. And that can be hard, but you're building a new neural pathway when you're going to like the old spaces, but you're having a different experience, right?
Okay.
And so, and then also going to new places, right? As well, and forming new relationships, new connections, new safe spaces where your nervous system can recalibrate. I think that's really important too, is recalibrating your nervous system. After a breakup, your nervous system can be very triggered, right? And so grounding exercises, getting into nature. Also, there's like some body vagus nerve resets you can do. I'm always a fan of different vagus nerve things. A simple one is just humming, singing, dancing, but getting into your body, anything like that. Doing neck massages. So I like to.
So self-care.
Yeah, go down the sides of your neck with a small massage. Tapping on your heart, telling yourself that you're safe. That's a big one.
Nice.
Hugging yourself.
Heart tapping.
Yeah, because that's your vagus nerve runs through your heart as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what we got in review there for how to avoid grief: post neural patterns formed. Example, breakup with a boyfriend, or situation, whatever. New social outings to stimulate new excitement possibly in the brain, or new positive triggerings for excitement that are not around the same past reward center, I think that's what they call it. Solo adventures, so getting out on your own and exploring just stuff on your own and see how you like your own vibe. Reclaim places without that person. I see that a lot, that people, when they have a partnership, that they feel like, oh, the whole world is done now for them because they used to go to that restaurant with him or her, and this used to be our this and this used to be our that. It always was a public place. Y'all just went there together. Like you're driving yourself deeper into a grief tunnel or whatever over a relationship that, if it ended, it probably was meant to end, or it probably wouldn't have. So I think in the moving on process, that's very important to reclaim visited spaces without that person and realize that you may meet another person right there in that spot, or you may revisit that center. For neural pathways, I think that's really cognitive and helpful because you go to the place, so the mind is geared towards the place. Oh, we're here. Okay, I'm here by myself, and I'm okay with that. I accept the present moment. I'm moving forward. It would be a good affirmation, maybe to pair with that reclaiming of previous visited spaces, and then that's creating a positive affirmation around an almost similar trigger. So I think that's a good way to maybe throw in some spiritual practice in there, or self-work.
I want to add more, because that is maybe more of a neuroscience lens, but also from the spiritual side, seeing the relationship, looking at the lessons that you can gather or gain from that relationship. I like to think of relationships as portals to a newer version of ourself.
Okay.
So a different version of self. A lot of people after a relationship become a different person, right?
Right.
We see, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it depends on the person, right? But
there's going to be some kind of change.
Yeah, there's usually a lot of change that happens. People can bring out the dharma or the karma out of us, right? And so
other people. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine.
I was gonna say, I don't know if other people can bring out the dharma in us. That would be great, though. You think that's possible? I haven't met somebody like that yet.
Yeah, I think relationships can bring out dharma or karma. As we're in these relationships, we're either growing together, kind of becoming a healthier version of self, or we're possibly revisiting lessons or learning lessons. We might be it might be a soul tie, right? And so with strong soul ties, I think there might be old karma that needs to come up as a lesson, or healing from maybe a past life. If we go into reincarnation, some people believe in reincarnation. I myself do as well.
Some people know.
Yeah, and so it could be a past life soul tie, and that karma could be coming up for each of the souls to learn a lesson or finish unfinished business from this life, past lifetime, and now we're here in this lifetime. And then we get into twin flames, or the idea of different souls coming together for a certain reason, certain purpose.
I think all that's wonderful to be able to tie in deeper meaning to relationships and meeting with people. So it's always interesting when I meet somebody and they say, "Oh, I'm a spiritual person," and I'm like, "What you mean? What do you do?" Because sometimes people are mentioning they are more spiritual, but they don't have a practice yet, and I hold space, but I'm like, spirituality is about doing activity and being involved with your spirit cleansing your aura, cleansing your spirit, making sure you don't got bad vibes on you, that you're able to discern, you're getting closer, deeper connection with your higher power. Um, spirituality, I think, is more engaged. So, anywho, sometimes I hear guys say that, I'm like, what do you know? Because that's also something I want to know too, to make sure you're the right kind of vibe, that we understand from a standpoint of mutual respect, maybe reciprocity. Do we know about collective oneness? Do we know about reap what you sow? And you give is the energy you receive.
Yeah.
Going into a relationship.
Karma.
Right. Going into a relationship from that standpoint, it might be able to work out because there's some kind of mutual higher ground. And I think the true spiritualist takes people's spirit and their life, very more deeper. And that it's not just a relationship. You are around this person's energy. Y'all are possibly exchanging energy if you're doing further intimate things. If you're a more empathic person, that it's almost like you want like a Carfax, a spiritual Carfax, or at least have some kind of recollection of, principles or something. So we can know just not a renegade person that doesn't really have any standing and doesn't care about anything. So you could get anything with that person. They don't really have a standing, but they say they're standing there, or they don't have a fixed belief. It scares me because I'm like, I don't want them just on their own their own mind. I'm like, no. I mean, some people have, I guess, that common sense or whatever that can carry them through, but no, they don't as well. So anyway, the fourth bullet point I have is to realign do self work, enter faith, like deepen personal faith after the breakup, a renewed spiritual self, maybe taking spiritual baths, purge grief, and Epsom salt, flowers, make it nice for yourself, incense. And I always I like to give thanks in those tubs, and then also like give thanks so much that you end up crying because you're so thankful, and then you can let that out into the tub and really just let it drain. You may not even remember dude or girl name after that.
Yeah, there's an ancient practice, and I had a breakup not too long ago, but one of the practices that I learned to do was go into a dark shower, and in that dark shower, you release. You can say whatever you need, and you can have it as a cold shower and kind of release all of the energy that might not be yours. And so saying things around like, I release any energy that is not mine or for my higher self, and allow that to detach. You can even imagine either a white light going over you, or imagine that the water is kind of clearing it. You can watch in your mind's eye kind of those energies going
What's
down.
that? What's a mind's eye?
Yeah. So not everyone has it. I learned that, like,
good
not
for them.
not
I'm just
everyone.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not everyone has access to it. I've learned that there's different folks with different consciousness, right? Like, everyone has different. Some people have inner dialogues and some don't. But the mind's eye is just kind of that. When you close your eyes, it's the place that you can see, kind of detached from your thoughts. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but I like to think of it as like almost like that pineal gland, right? That you're kind of like tapping into, but it's the ability to see from an observer's perspective. Meditation can help a lot with developing that as well. because what you're doing in meditation is you become the observer of your thoughts. Instead of your thoughts controlling you, you start to be the observer of the thoughts, and then kind of discern which thoughts are for you and
Come
which
on,
ones
discernment,
aren't.
right? Not just a chaotic thinking,
Yeah.
but a discernment. Because
Yeah.
why not? And that's where the common sense is within the discernment. So, when we say common sense ain't common, that's oftentimes because people had to work for it, and if they don't, then they won't have it. If people feel like that's low vibrational, it may be. Some people, we're gonna have to understand. So you said the mind's eye. Some folks might be like, "Well, I don't know what that is. I'm not messing with that." But no, it wasn't that you have it or not. It's a structure that is your pineal gland, also known as the third eye. It would be, in my definition, and I want to do an episode on the third eye because I had a very tumultuous rude awakening, but it was on some shamanism type stuff. So I think it was supposed to be rough, so I can help people through the rough patch. Of course, it wouldn't be normal and gentle. So the third eyes are piercing the veil, if you will. I feel like seeing through to a deeper discernible truth. So we're not just gonna have a bunch of thoughts and pick one. We can see and read between the lines. Understand our emotions deeper, and we need to maintain our health at a higher level it's spiritual maturity. That's what I call it. I call it spiritual maturity. It is basically we have our physical maturity that happens during our early teens, and then when you get to a certain point of consciousness, I feel like you've worked to try to raise it. You're maturing spiritually because you're going to your higher self.
Yeah.
So that way the consciousness can form the thoughts, which form conscious thought, form, and reality. Then you can, that's why they say people with their third eye open have more of this access to make their dreams come true. It's not no magic trick. It's a spiritual maturity. And it's not like, oh, that's wrong or right. It's kind of like step into your spiritual maturity and get your full allowance. It's not wrong. And there's other things going on in this world where rights and values are getting taken.
Yeah.
So you may want to increase your ability to manifest what it is you need. And put down superstition, pick up the book or the YouTube video. And don't be scared of nothing. Why would you be scared of individual list items when a lot of people are supposed to be scared of only their higher powers? I don't understand how they got scared of so many different things, but we're here to break it down, and we have stepped through some doorways. Luckily, I guess ahead of time, because not only were these things here before already, they are coming into our Western culture, and a lot of it's trendy and pop culture, but this is not pop culture. This is the real culture. And I think there needs to just be, I just hope that there's understanding from people, like as somebody would again go through their physical maturity, they're maturing. We look at that time where you need to sit down with teenagers and tell them about the changes they're going through. They're going through the change. Well, sit down with yourself and go through your spiritual enlightenment or spiritual maturing. I don't think the third eye opening as well is awakening. It is just development of the consciousness talking to the brain, talking to the mind. Like, no, I'm in control. It is coming from your soul, conscience, and then thoughts, and then form, and then reality.
Someone used to say, a local person, and I'll never forget, they would say thoughts become things.
So that's why.
And that was kid. That was a long time ago, but
Okay.
yeah, that stuck with me. They're local. They were a local poet, the poet laureate at one point too.
Nice.
So yeah.
See, so poets bringing forth a lot of this anecdotal, super cool, like art, but it's not just art. Now it's becoming instructional and valuable. And I don't know, I'm just super excited that it gets to be a resource and asset that is not really any gatekeeping, that can be hailed from individuals wanting to advance their spiritual maturity, uh, be invested into their spiritual hygiene. Oh yeah, what are you doing? You're going outside, interacting with all these people. Okay, that's energy. Did you know that? Yeah, either way, it's energy. We're all energy, and everything has always only been energy.
Yeah.
So, what kind of conversation did you have? You felt this way or that way about it afterward? It affected your energy for the rest of the day. You know why? It's because you don't want to talk to that person about that, and boundaries would have actually curved depression that was not existent before, but we sometimes forego spiritual practice and then wonder why there's an issue.
Yeah, I want to add something because I think it's important to think about too. The idea if, as kids, if we had a lot of trauma, our third eye is actually developed stronger than the other chakras. And so a lot of times kids will develop their third eye before they develop their root chakra, their sacral chakra.
Interesting.
And that's where they become like very hyper vigilant, right? And so
Yeah.
kids with a lot of trauma sometimes have their third eye open or but not rooted. So
And that is very not good. That's
Yeah.
actually not dangerous, but it can be painful. And they can call that stuff a bunch of other things that it's not. Then they get to put in prescriptions on people, and they're not even fixing the issue.
yeah. So then the other chakras are not balanced.
Those other chakras have to develop kind of first. To my knowledge, the Kundalini energy that develops in the root chakra needs to be brought up to the pineal gland. It allows that pineal gland to actually open properly. And then what happens as well is, since the pineal gland is kind of like a survival mechanism, it's all to serve our survival. So I think it's a natural process that people's third eye eventually open. And it's certainly in other countries there would be. Maybe not here because all that stuff was labeled and stereotyped incorrectly. Which purpose means a superstition or whatever. But I'm trying to bring up a chart about the chakras real quick.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, yeah, that energy needs to be guidanced up through the body's energy centers up to the top of the third eye, and then it properly opens without people having kind of a traumatic, oh my God, what's going on? All these things and awarenesses have activated, and I just don't know what is going on. Because that's what happened to me. And then also what I noticed too is there's a little bump that will be signature of it like popped, or it like it's bloomed or blossomed in that way. So there's a physical bodily response, and it just looks like a little pimple like in that region, and that's the.
I used to have that all the time, so I never thought about that. Like that was there. Like I would have it. I mean, it was irritating, right? Like I hated it.
You thought it was a pimple.
Yeah. And that when I was in high school, that was like it was like that pimple, right? And, I was.
It's just like
it
right
bothered
there,
me,
just
right?
messing
Like
things up for the teenage lifestyle. Yeah.
I mean, as a teen, you don't want a pimple in the middle of your forehead.
No, but as a in the long run, it's like higher conscious. Okay, I can make my dreams come true. Probably better. Okay, you know what? I could be an asset to my community because I can uh, discern needs. I can
Hmm.
just discern my needs.
Yeah, yeah,
More clarity, if it's properly developed and acknowledged and respected. When it is like a mystery and we just leave it there, people don't either they don't experience it or they have trouble with it and they get diagnosed and put on like antipsychotics.
yeah.
Just stuck probably with their higher conscious trying to come through, but they were told they were crazy.
Hmm.
I don't like that.
Yeah, a lot of times ungrounded spirituality can look like, without guidance, can look like different diagnoses that we see, right? And
Yes.
diagnoses, this Western world really likes to diagnose things, um, and and I
But they
I
didn't
don't
know
know.
what it was, or they like.
Yeah, there's actually a good documentary out there. I wanna plug it because what it does is it follows a Westerner in their mental health journey, and then someone in Africa in their mental health journey, and the outcomes are different. One goes into shamanism, and then another becomes homeless in their car, and
That
so
sounds like the American person.
yes.
Because the third world, like living in the third world, is not a problem. Probably to live in your car, and they probably don't because they just know how to hustle. And shamanism, right? If you get sick like that, just fix it and make it into something that you can carry forward as a usable, lifetime skill.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Love that. Shout out to Africa and African shamans there, and shamans all over the world. That's the other thing I like about shamanism. Is it is not exclusive to any culture. It is a original spiritual practice that those were really people's prophets, medicine men, sometimes called witch doctors. They were deliberators and mediators because of their high conscious, and that was their job. They were just respected. Like it's like you don't mess with them, you don't disrespect them. They're not. They are they're not trying to be uppity about it, but they just don't need to be messed with.
Yeah.
And this is also the person that can help you, and we don't know how to help you. So people took that seriously back in those days, and these people were revered.
Yeah.
They say even before religions began. So, we think of someone. Here's an example: like Enoch, technically could be a shaman, discerning directly from nature. All the details. He didn't even have time to write it down. He was just yelling and telling people what's going on, and then God was like, "We gotta take you back." So he was like, "You're too much for these people," and so maybe his connection, and that's pre-books, but he had a connection with the source, and was able to tell him about the actual spiritual warfare because there was Nephilim in those days. So that was kind of probably difficult for the people at the time being eaten by giants and type stuff.
Yeah.
But then people say they believe in the Bible, but they have a problem processing that was real. Like they wasn't joking about these creatures that existed. And it wasn't no fairy tale. Either we are believing it or not. So those are spiritual concepts that exist in the Bible, but sometimes merging that spirituality with mainstream religions, they're like, oh no, we're not doing that. And you already are, but I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think religion, like all of the religions, in some way are connected. A lot of the same teachings, they just say it differently,
right.
or it's interpreted differently, or we like in certain religions, it's taken and weaponized, right, as well. And so
Yeah,
even the idea, there's a
which is not supposed to be but weaponized.
there's sometimes religion is weaponized. We've seen like wars. I mean, a lot of our wars throughout history have been because of religious differences.
Religions that project peace
Yeah,
that needed to go to somebody's confirmed war. Huh. So,
I found that documentary, by the way. It's called
oh,
Crazy Wise. So
okay.
the documentary follows two people on different mental health journeys in different countries. So one is a Westerner. They follow the Westerner and their mental health journey, and then they follow someone in Africa and their mental health journey.
The American never-ending fluctuation and just unrest, and then fear mongering by our situations that we have here. No, I'm just kidding. We're getting there, figuring out what we can do, and I'm so happy for everybody that is really diving into what they could do to affect change when it comes to mental health, and not just assuming it's ADHD, give them pills. It's schizophrenia or thought forms. Which I just I don't have nothing. I don't want nothing to do with them. You know, I don't think schizophrenia is real. I think it is and I don't think thought forms are real. I think, well, schizophrenia may be real. Let me let that alone, since it has a whole medical concept behind it and history. This thought forms thing, I don't recall it before the early 2000s or COVID. Do you?
I don't understand. What is thought forms? I guess like what?
Oh my goodness, I don't even want to tell you about it. And this is what I mean by things being passed on through whatever channels. But let's go ahead and talk about it, since we're in general just having a conversation about society, spirituality, and ways of being. So a new way that I've chosen to be is not affected by thought forms and don't need them. Um, you know, it was a cute idea at first, I thought, but then I was like, you know what, this is not what people think it is. So thought forms are these. Oh God, I think it's people that are affected by the third eye being open and they hadn't trained it, or they may be going through not getting proper sleep, having maybe some kind of lifestyle choices that need to be more tied in, because you really can't be a brand newbie at your spiritual maturity, which is happening. It's not a punishment, but it is a coming into a further state of adulthood, and maybe eldership guidance for the community. Like it's not. It was there for. It is there for us to understand deeper and a survival mechanism. So I think it's also considered a raising of consciousness. So back to thought forms. Thought form is a concept. Thought forms are a concept that these, what do we call them? Energetic thought patterns are in our aura as residue, maybe dredged up from conversations, energy that we interacted with, even without conversation, but proximity, that transfer thoughts that they bring the thoughts through your mind of sky, if you will. But they are like, for me, they have been very vocal. It sounded like everybody was there at times, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was also admittedly going through like a coping issue at that time. Just to be candid, I'll talk about that on a different episode. But it wasn't great. It was very tumultuous, and I, through my situation, I think thought forms are an excuse for spiritual warfare and a doorway for negative thoughts to enter the mind, alter the mind, and take people to a place of not good. We don't need a thought form. We need just our conscious, our regular thought that we chose to have, and then what we choose to bring into form, which is manifestation.
So are you maybe there's another? Is it called like for maybe an intrusive thought? Is that? It sounds like it's similar to like an intrusive thought.
most of the most of them holes are intrusive. Most of them are intrusive. It's because let me look up the definition as well for thought forms because I don't want to describe this without getting their meaning and I didn't make this up, but we should go ahead and delete it from reality. I think because we don't need that. Not ultimately. Or let me see. Let me stop being so biased. I had an unnecessary encounter with these things. A thought form is defined as an entity created directly and exclusively by the mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, which appears to develop a life of its own, acting as an intelligent agent in the real world and perceptible to others. Let's give it all hell no. It's often associated with concepts like tulpa. The Tibetan culture refers to various mental constructs. So let me see. Tulpa, 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 tulpa is a marginalized being or thought form, typically in human shape, that is created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. The term borrowed from the Tibetan language. Modern practitioners who call themselves tulip masters use the term to refer to wild, imaginary friend whom practitioners consider sentient and relatively independent. Hell no. I mean, not hell no, but yeah. The modern practitioners predominantly consider tulpas as psychological rather than paranormal phenomena. The idea became more important belief to theosophy. Okay. So, and the word tulpa, it originates from Tibet, where they may mean phantom. So for me, first of all, we have over 60,000 thoughts a day in our head that run through either silently or semi-silently. These thought forms can, in a mind that needs to be calmed down and maybe is more ADHD, anxious, they follow the pattern of your vibe, whether anxious or calm, but they would like to continue sometimes talking and going on. I've seen, and they are like an entity or intelligent. Like it doesn't feel like a thought.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like a normal thought. Um,
Yeah, it's like ruminate. Like thinking of ADHD and autism. Uh, that's I that's one of my specialties is really um, working with folks with ADHD and folks that are autistic, as I consider myself ADHD as well. And these labels, there's different views on them in terms of neuroscience. There's different views on spirituality in terms of autistic and ADHD.
mm-hmm.
And so everyone has different viewpoints and understanding of what ADHD is. But where you're talking about the rumination of a thought so that it like kind of takes on its own reality, takes on it another shape, and like it can become very real,
It
right?
can become
For a person.
yeah, like a mind of its own,
Mhm.
but going on in your mind, which is
Yeah.
your
Yeah, and like what you said, 60,000 thoughts. Most people, 45,000 of those are negative.
yeah. A lot of people can be leaning more towards the pessimistic side. And if your mind is still available to pessimism rather than a chosen optimism, which is only going to be your highest good and possibly the highest good of others, choose optimism. Anyway, if your mind is not conditioned for optimism and you encounter these thought forms, I find it to be a crapshoot. People could think that they are losing their mind. And I've seen severe cases of kind of acute possession because they are listening to these algorithmic almost, but able to have a full conversation. Like you could have a full conversation with these. Sometimes people describe it as their own voice. Some people describe it as the voices of others, like anybody. Um, Particularly people that can be their opinion matters to you, so they may trigger your ego, and then you go into a whole defensive mindset. That you need to explain something to this thought that had a comment about what you're doing. I don't think they're necessary. Either that, or it's a very it's a very high level version of channeling with these thought entities that are almost like AI, where they can have an intelligent conversation with you, sound like an individual that you know, and even respond from an intelligent like value, like an intellectual. So it is not like schizophrenia. It is not someone rambling on. It could be somebody actually having a conversation with motive from that thing, talking to you about how it feels about what you just did, even though it's not you. And technically, something like that should not know what you're doing. So I just want to take a moment that when we're here talking about spirituality in general, that some of this stuff is a new concept. Some of these things need further research. We don't need everything that exists in the spiritual realm. Everybody does not need everything that exists in the spiritual realm. So somebody did tell me that there is such thing as positive thought forms. I don't get enough of them. I wasn't getting enough of them to keep like allowing it to be present. So I'm telling myself now that I disagree with the need for thought forms, and I just don't accept. I don't accept and I reject any thought forms. I would like to go with my higher conscious, which I have worked to, glimpse through meditation, and that knows what I need, and it is my higher self. It is closest to God. Be still and know. I'm fine with that. I don't need to argue with anything that is trying to argue with me until my brain. And some people are going through that at times. Some people can trigger that through intense traumas, pharmaceutical or illegal drugs that they have taken. Even weed can trigger those thought forms. And if they are causing an acute issue, they could cause even a larger issue. Like I literally had to run a gambit of all kind of phenomenon with it, but right now I'm good. So more shamanism, like having to learn the hard way and not have an answer and not have just have to figure it out and just be like, what happened? Is this something that's natural? So again, just real quick before we get off this topic, before we read something online and say, oh, this should be, I'm going to add it to my reality. This is the thing because I looked it up online. Maybe it don't have to be a thing you engage with or know about, and you just save yourself trouble of this new concept that you ain't never heard of, but people have said it's a thing. Maybe it's not supposed to be a thing. Maybe they were phantoms that are like ghosts in your head that, if a non-spiritual person is not going to know what's going on. They're going to think they are losing their mind. So that's just and they could be, that's influencing too. So what's trying to influence the mind? Usually the enemy is trying to influence the mind. So we don't need outside influence talking out loud inside, and it's not positive. It's an attack from. They have a name for that, but they call it crazy thought. In Hebrew, they call it the Satan in Christianity, where it comes with crazy thoughts and talks, and suggests these things. So I don't know if thought form is a euphemism for these phantoms, or maybe they're not as nasty. Maybe people with spiritual practice can careen them into positive thought forms, or they're using the thought forms to go to someone and get information. I don't think it's safe. And my experience with it is hell no. So anyway.
Yeah. I think there's different labels or for that, for what you're saying, like
Mhm.
intrusive thought might be what maybe therapists would call it. I study some Kabbalah.
Okay.
In Kabbalah, that it might be called Satan or the
Right,
Tycoon.
right.
And Tycoon is that wound or that everyone has. So in Kabbalah, they view, and Kabbalah is mysticism. It's
Right.
Jewish mysticism. But it's
So a spiritual Jewish.
yeah, yep.
Kind of like how Jesus was, but they were like, we don't know him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a view.
Like I him. But yeah.
Yeah, viewing.
That's controversial.
It's okay. But yeah, the view of the thought form or intrusive thought as maybe Satan or Tycoon, something that is looked at in self and then to like heal, to bring forth as your.
Oh.
It's like in Kabbalah they view everybody has a Tycoon.
Right.
And then you figure out your Tycoon. And that's your healing process in this lifetime.
Right.
And your Tycoon is tied to past lives, past reincarnations, things that still need to be learned. And then they even connect astrology in there. I like human design a lot because it brings in I Ching, it brings in Kabbalah, it brings in astrology and all these different modalities into a more comprehensive blueprint for human consciousness and development.
Right. They're like, you're going to understand all of these things to the point where you're not going to have a question about yourself anymore. You're just going to know, and we have all these suggestions. Every suggestion in every angle. Human design is like a little bit intense for me because I'm like, there's so much going on here.
Yeah.
There's like everything going on here.
Yeah.
And it is kind of applicable. It is insightful. And if people aren't maybe familiar with gathering their own insight from, meditation, maybe human design is a good journal prompt or automated way to have these insights. I think good old-fashioned meditation will get them there.
Mm-hmm.
In regard to the crazy thought or the Satan, everybody deals with they say a devil, an angel on the shoulder, your highest good speaking to you, and then the low down,
the lower frequency,
right? Lower frequency. So, as that word is a little bit creepy, it's something that we come here to overcome. Mm-hmm. I think internally. It's something that the teachers have ultimately overcame, and then they kind of attain this level of a more enlightened state because they don't have anymore the bad guy putting all of these naughty and bad ideas. They had overcame that. So once they did it, got behind them and just shut up, and then only good ideas are coming through, higher ideas, and that's an interesting concept. I think people should explore pessimism and optimism, even as like, why am I having so many pessimistic thoughts? Is that a meek version of, the devil trying to, or the devil, the Satan, let's call it that, because that it specifically speaks to the mind, mm-hmm. that name, and again, it's called crazy thought in the translation in Hebrew. So crazy thought. What kind of thought was it? Was it orderly or was it crazy, but you kind of wanted to try? It's not your highest good. It's the damn devil speaking, trying to get you to fall into these temptations or what have you. And we were told about this. Don't just allow it to constantly make these difficult decisions, because what it's trying to do is utilize our free will at times to possibly bring into reality what it wants. That's dangerous. So, because thoughts, right? We had made this understanding, another equation, that it initiates conscious consciousness, a lot of people don't know yet that they can access that, and that's a level of really in touch with their highest self. That is good for them, and it should be a natural process of our life. Thought, that's just the mind. That's what we get here with, everybody coming with a mind. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's on, or the common sense is in there, but it can think and can learn, so that's good. It can also be conditioned,
Mm-hmm.
and it is
Programmed.
here. So we have form, which is a huge turning point from this whole process, and then we have reality. Like, let's do an example. So, conscious. I'm not going to do an example with consciousness first because everybody is not thinking from their consciousness. Some people have not even accessed that level of thinking yet. Because it's always kind and unconditionally loving you and has the best answer for us. That is totally from a place of just unconditional, sorted logic. That it always sounds like that, it always feels like that. And, I think that's the God within. That's the be still and know that they were talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. Go ahead and go inside and meet yourself, your higher self. Cancel out your temptations because you went to your higher self. You're not tempted by none of that. They can't affect you. That's how he defeated the devil. Buddha also defeated the devil. Jesus defeated the devil. These are both awakening examples. And that's all Buddha means, is the awakened one. And Christ means awakened being too. So there's a lot more, like you said, there's concepts that intersect that have no, they could run parallel and did exist at this, different times and don't disrespect each other. And people have put them at odds anyway. Like I've been practicing Nichiren Buddhism and Christ,
Like Christ consciousness.
Christ consciousness and instituting love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and into my inner thought process and into my outer interaction with people. It needs to run through the principles that he mentioned because that is the level of his thinking. We don't need to just say Jesus, 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 because that's not doing it, and that's not allowing us to what that's supposed to be. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now the catch is you just have to do it. You don't get to ask any questions, and you don't get to prefer them. So that unconditional love is actually a test. Do you have what it takes to take on the Christ? Because it's not just this glamorous, immaculate thing. It is like, I had to have care and love for this person who really doesn't act like they deserve it. But because they're a being and I know what all is going on, they deserve love. So it really changes looking at his life when people kind of enter the Christ consciousness versus just saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. He's so great. Yeah, we are supposed to be too, and to follow an example that he died to example. But it's just like that wasn't the only part of his mission. So I think people are just now 200 years later, 200 something years later, are just about to get into what he was really talking about.
I think it's thousands of years.
It might be 3,000, but he had given the go ahead that everything is good. You guys really need to judge each other. You're not the judge, no way. I'm gonna come back and handle that. And then you're all forgiven. So hell, even if there's no hell for you to go to, But a lot of people that the way I traditionally came up in Christianity, I was like, do people believe that? Because technically it's all handled, but people don't act like it.
Yeah.
So I really am excited for people to actually come from that consciousness that they're not worried about dogma and putting it on people. And if that person do that, they sanctify. They're forgiven, right? That's all you should elevate, because that's what it's all about.
So I think
Please do.
I think this could be an interesting thing because I don't I grew up in Catholicism, but
Okay.
my parents weren't really religious at all, so I got to be a lot I had a lot of freedom in terms of like finding my own beliefs and like understanding of beliefs. And there's a concept out there, and I like to be just open, right, with some concepts, some beliefs, and but the idea that um, the Christ consciousness, the Kundalini, we're kind of climbing our in our body. So
Yes.
our heel is hell. It's like the lowest level of consciousness in the body. And then as we climb up Jacob's ladder, the 33 vertebrae of our spine, and Jesus died at age 33. So the idea that these concepts in the Bible are metaphors for the body, human body, for our God body, which if we think of one consciousness, we are all God, right? Together we are all one God, and then we've kind of split. God has split up into these different bodies to like be a better version of God, right? To like purify these different parts of self.
Right.
So you're God and I'm God. We're both one, right? And so as we're climbing up consciousness, going up Jacob's ladder to Christ consciousness, reaching heaven, which is kind of that pineal gland and third eye crown, and opening up through enlightenment. And so the idea of like some of these concepts in the Bible are just metaphors for us, for the body, for like 666. That is viewed as in some places that's viewed as a really negative number, right? That means the devil.
If people have handed that over.
Yeah,
I guess.
And then in other, like that can also mean body, right? 666 is like carbon. 6 is the number of carbon, in the periodic table. I'm pretty sure, but that idea, that 6 is body, and so. Yeah.
So it refers to something to maybe overcome what the flesh wants. Maybe this is the level that, again, that entity gets those people at. The passions of the flesh. Okay, so 6 represents body, and then allegedly the number 666 belongs to the devil. I know who handed it over to him.
I looked it up. It's our body's carbon consists of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. 666.
Our body consists of, so that's what the flesh is made of.
Yep. So our carbon inside, which our bodies consists of carbon. Yeah.
Right, and that's what we would overcome. That's what the conscious would overcome, is the desires and the leadings and pushing and pullings of the body, not just the physical that we pay most attention to or only attention to, but that we overcome that and go into our higher self, which is more of a Christ conscience. So maybe that is why the number 666 is related to the devil, but it's not the devil. It's really our flesh.
Yeah,
that he has access to. Really pull for those desires and greed, and he's still getting this, people on these same tricks, the same 7 list of sins, like if people go off into those and fall in, and that's the only way he can really do anything. I don't believe in giving the devil any power. He's only gotten his ass kicked since the beginning of time, but people act like the devil is so powerful. Illusions are powerful, and our mind is powerful. So our mind is actually what that entity is after. Our free will is what that entity is after. We have the power, and that doesn't have no power, or else it would do things on its own. So I'm glad we got to talk about that, and I'm glad to come about. Hey,
we
time to wrap it up.
Yeah, we
No
closed
problem.
4 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're all good.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up in the next slide. Thank you so much. Okay, they're super nice here. Shout out to the GRTV studios. We are coming at you on this pre-recorded, wonderful conversation with AC the Poet. AC, before we have to get up out of here, we have discussed so many wonderful concepts, and I think this is a nice gambit of conversation that people who are introing or already well versed in the spiritual realms or just life, really. We just probably stop, considering it such this separate thing. Spirituality going on, have been going on, goes on in a sublime way. It goes on energetically, emotionally, and as we work that into a regular day thing, it becomes an asset that was, just ignored and labeled and miscategorized. But we can find so much balance and so much furthering of ourselves from an immaterial standpoint. So I thank you for sharing things that you have explored. What is anything else that you'd like to mention, favorite spiritual practice, or anything that you'd like to highlight before we get off the episode today?
Yeah, I have a couple, if that's okay. So one thing to kind of wrap up what we were just talking about, I want to think about spirituality and in terms of ego too, because a lot of times in our new age, people are also weaponizing spirituality, and it's like my conscious is higher than your conscious, and it becomes an ego thing.
Right.
And as soon as that happens, you're actually lowering your vibration. And not saying that I also don't think having a lower vibration is always a negative thing. Sometimes we have to go to lower vibrations so that we can reveal light and move forward to a higher vibration. So we have to go to those lower places so that we can fully understand and alchemize that into a higher self.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think we can always stay on this higher frequency, and I don't necessarily think that's always healthy to stay on this higher self frequency all the time, because then you're looking down on people possibly, and where we might not be living in our authenticity, and so I do think that sometimes we do have to go down to lower frequencies so that we can rise up through that and alchemize some of those frequencies, revealing their light, and then
transmuting the darkness, which I think that's why I guess the source, God or the universe, whatever people are comfortable with, definitely doing his thing since the beginning, sent and dispersed itself into from one to everything. So that includes dark and light.
Yeah.
To wrangle with each other and advance each other.
Yeah.
But ultimately probably just to let it loose and see all right, the experience is going to advance the consciousness that I am, but the only way to do that is through activity. You can't just sit up in perfect, like you said, high vibration. To sit up in the initial, this one, right? The dot in the circle.
Yeah.
The original, pre-creation. That's what God was just doing, chilling in its own space. Like, we're cool. It's cool. It's like I'm conscious, but nothing's going on with me, and I'm not hurting myself, and I'm just infinite. You know what? Boom. Let me experience through so many experiences, and then there will be hardship and things overcome. That way, the consciousness is advancing from just perfect singleness and no interaction with anything, but also probably a perfect peace where it's just like, I don't know, do I need to do anything? It's just perfect and peaceful right here. I don't have any needs or anything. I just am. I am.
Yeah.
And then God did the thing, and now here we are. Sometimes wondering why we're here. Well, we're here to do that. We're here to have whatever experience we have and bring it to the highest point that we can.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to, edify whatever God is. I mean, I know what God is, but I just say that whatever God is because I feel like some people are really regaining the connection with that. And they should allow themselves to imagine freely and research freely and let go of boundaries, because this doesn't have no boundaries.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. We aren't supposed to have some perfect experience. We may be here to have a difficult experience and then transmute that, like you said. It cannot be done just sitting at up high from the perch and nothing ever touched you because everything is perfect. When you go down until you drop down and get gory, but you came back up, you know more than the individuals who've never been down and back up.
Yeah.
So we are going to get out of the studio because it's time to go. They've been so kind to us. They're over 40 minutes long. But
Can I share
Absolutely.
that one last, because you asked what my favorite spiritual practice was.
Yes.
And I would say sun gazing. So they tell us not to look at the sun,
I
right?
don't know. Who said that?
But sun gazing, if you can look at the sun, I view that as a way to upgrade our DNA. We are getting direct source. We're getting vitamin D.
Mhm.
We soak vitamin D through our eyes.
Mhm.
So getting unfiltered sunlight as well. So take out those contacts, take off your glasses, and just look at the sun. The sun is source. The sun, if you want to put it into spiritual concepts, some people view it, sun as Jesus, the Son of God, Son
of God, yeah.
the sun.
And that sun is a son of the original creation of it.
Yep.
So they also say that our sun holds valuable consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of believe that only people that can really look at the sun are those that have probably opened their third eye. So don't expect it not to hurt, and do not do it at length and say that the What I Need podcast told your ass to look at the sun. Everybody's not ready to look at the sun. Some people shouldn't look at the sun because they need to do everything with respect and reverence to nature, to their natural body. And so 2 seconds here and there won't hurt. Do not do any long sun gazing for your first time. And
That's true.
yeah, handle that responsibly. I also love sun gazing. And sometimes I'm like, should I be doing this? And then I got my vision checked, and they said my vision was fine after like a year of sun gazing.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get there where it doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful, so you don't need like a long ass time, but it can raise the vibration. Okay, so I love this conversation. I thank you so much. Don't you have a book that's out? I'd love you to just go ahead and
I do.
let them know where they can find you and your amazing book.
Yeah, so the book is called Formidable Shadows, a foster youth journey. And it's a poetry book that kind of goes through my foster care journey when I was a kid, and going from my different connections into finding my voice as an adult. It can be found on World Stage Press, their website, worldstagepress.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you also run into me locally in Grand Rapids, you can find me with some copies as well, and I'd be sure to sell you one and also sign it, and you could get a signed copy. So, yeah.
Amazing. So make sure we check out those stories of our fellow BIPOC community, Black and Brown, LGBT, non-binary,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
individuals telling their stories. So you don't have to guess about it, or you could be educated about it and be like, wow, this is really inspirational. I understand this person now, and I've never heard this story, so it's refreshing. So I commend you on getting that fresh new story out there, and we just thank you so much for being on the What I Need podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, I like to say this too. Let me say that real quick.
Yeah.
So, I am thankful for my well-being.
I'm thankful for my well-being.
And just breathe into our heart space. And I am thankful for the well-being of others.
And I'm thankful for the well-being of others.
And we just put that well wish out into the atmosphere
Yeah.
and into the day. And we begin to hope that for everyone and practice unconditional love through this way. So it you have less conflict with people. You have less distance because you have already intended for their well-being before you even go outside. And it seems like everybody's your best friend after you guys said that. There can begin feeling more close like that.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to the What I Need podcast. This has been your host, King Karlton. Special guest, AC the Poet. We'll check you out next time.
Awesome. Thank you.